how to quarantine with kids and work. If you're like me, you have a lot of Zoom calls during the day and there's usually someone having a fit, crying, something's going on when you have to take your calls. So I have found the most soundproof place in my house is the shower. And I take my calls in peace. And if you use Zoom like me, you can choose your background so nobody needs to know that you're, you know, in the shower.
What did you put in there? Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. Today is a very special day, and with everything going on in the world, I think it's even more important to recognize all the moms out there. So happiest Mother's Day ever to all the moms around the world. I'm not a mom yet, but for those of you who know me, I can't wait to be one. I know from friends and family that this has been an especially difficult time for moms. So I reached out to a bunch of moms to give me tips and tricks to share with all of you. So stay tuned for that at the end of this video. Firstly, I'd like to introduce you to my mom. This is my mom. Her name is Maria and she's the bomb. My mom is probably the most influential person in my life, and I owe a lot of who I've become to her, and there probably aren't enough words to express my gratitude. I love my mom so much that I thought that the rest of the world deserved to learn some of the lessons that I've learned from her. The first lesson is don't cut your own bangs. This is a lesson that I ignored for a really, really long time, and now I have deep regrets about it. Another thing that my mom taught me is that when you're feeling sad, you should focus on the little things in life that make you happy, like getting a pedicure or watching Supernatural. This next tip is not one that she shared with just me, but with all of my friends. When we were about 5 or 6, she told us not to kiss any boys because boys pick their nose and they eat it. Super important. Another lesson that I got from my mom that I actually don't think I've put into full effect until very recently is to make my bed every morning. I finally get it, Mom, and I'm sorry for all the times that I drove you crazy not making my bed. This next one, I also have only very recently come to fully absorb what this means, and maybe some of you were like this. This is something that I heard from my mom my whole life growing up, and I only understand it now. After 8 o'clock, the kitchen is closed. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you will. This last lesson is more of a story, but this story sort of arguably changed the course of my entire life, so I'm sure that there's a lesson buried in here somewhere. When I was in grade 5, I was late for a French class because I had a doctor's appointment in the morning. I was insanely nervous to walk into the class in the middle of it because at the time kids would ask why you were late, or you would be asked to explain why you were late, or they would make jokes or laugh. Looking back on it now, it seems silly, but these were real feelings of insecurity for me. I was 10. So my mom, being the wise woman that she is, told me to just walk in and say, "Je suis là," and then everybody would laugh, but it would be because I made them laugh. So there I was, 10 years old, holding on to my mom's words of wisdom. I walked into that class and I did exactly what she said. I walked in and I said, "Je suis là," and everybody laughed, the teacher laughed, and suddenly walking into the scary scenario wasn't so scary anymore. Now every time I walk into a scary scenario, like a presentation, a job interview, or anything really that scares me, I'm ready to face it head on because my subconscious is 10 years old and yelling, "Je suis là," and making me feel a little bit better. So that's my story, and here are a bunch of other stories from a bunch of other mommies. I have to say a big thank you to Mel, Allison, Heather, Tyler, Natasha, Stella, Polly, Nikki, Heba, Sabrina, and Vanessa for sending in tips and tricks for me to put into my video. I have to start off by saying that I got an overwhelming amount of info from these ladies that I plan to carry with me into motherhood. I mean, hopefully we won't still be quarantined by the time that I reach that step in my life. The first major theme of all the advice, okay, is to throw away all of your mommy guilt. My friend Mel says that nobody is perfect and everybody is just doing the best that they can. Along those lines, Tyler wrote to me, "I think the biggest thing is to throw your mom guilt out the window. It's survival right now. Extra screen time, who cares? Serving mac and cheese for dinner, who cares? You are not failing. You are surviving and they love you just as much." And I think that's super valuable. I think I will also eat mac and cheese and not feel guilty about it. Sorry, I'm like looking down, I'm like reading these things off of my computer. Vanessa echoes a lot of these tips of throwing your mommy guilt out the window by saying a little extra screen time is not the end of the world. Try to get outside, weather permitting, because we are in Montreal here and some days it snows and then the next day it's 20 degrees outside and Mother Nature can't decide what's going on right now. Routines obviously won't be the same, but try to stick to a few that make your days easier. Don't feel stressed about keeping your kids entertained 24/7. They can do activities on their own and have free play to keep themselves busy. On that note, it's also important not to sweat the small stuff. Routines may be changing and that's okay. Allison says that she tries to keep a routine with her daughter Emmy, but the routine is definitely different now that they're not in the normal world. I try to tell myself not to feel so guilty if she's watching more TV. A very important lady in my life named Heather encourages everyone to find the silver lining that she saw in a subreddit called No Zero Days. The No Zero Days is something that I think is really cool, so I'm just gonna read what she wrote. The basic premise of No Zero Days is that something is better than nothing. We've been using this to motivate us when we're feeling a little gloomy. Reading a few pages from a book, that's a no zero day. Getting dressed, that's a no zero day. Drinking a little water, that's a no zero day. Cleaning a closet, that's a no zero day. Then we try to do a little more the next day, or the same, or less. We just aim for a no zero day. And this is an interesting way to sort of like flip this perspective or switch the script on yourself if you feel like you haven't been able to do all the things that you thought that you were gonna do as a mom or with your kids. Then just focus on what did happen, because that's positive too, and you're only doing your best. All right, some quick mommy tips from mommies for mommies. Arts and crafts or just little projects are an awesome way to entertain without screen time. Go outside. Your kids need fresh air. And make sure you play with your kids and let your inner child out. It could be very therapeutic. Plus, it will ensure that your kids are exerting energy. It's okay to have a lazy day, but it's also a lot easier to fall asleep when your body is tired. Which brings me to the next mommy tip. Sabrina says, it's important for me to give them a decent bedtime curfew. Sleep is very important, and a rested mind is a healthy mind. This goes for kids and for mommies and for everybody else out there. Make sure you're sleeping, or else you're gonna go nuts, like me. I've lost count of what number tip I am and I stopped writing it here. So the next tip is from my friend Heba. Heba says, I don't have any other tips other than patience, 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 and it's survival mode. I love this. The last tip is to go with the flow. If your kids are working well with your routine, stick to it to have some semblance of normalcy. If the routine isn't working and it's making things worse, then drop it and don't feel guilty about dropping it. My cousin Stella says, I had put so much pressure on myself to ensure that everything is perfect. School, work, house. I drove myself and my kids crazy. I literally cracked. Then snapped out of it and realized that the most important thing is staying healthy, mentally and physically. Something else that I find is super important comes from an old friend of mine, Natasha, who says, I think most importantly, what comes out of these hard times is coming back to our roots. Spending time with our family, taking pride in our yards, eating at home, and caring about each other's health. We've come back to our family roots, which is the most important part of life in my opinion. So hang in there, mamas, and enjoy this staycation with your family. This opportunity to bond and spend time with each other one-on-one at home like this may never come again. The most encouraging thing for me to see is that during this time of crisis, I've only seen positive reinforcement and support coming from moms and just friends all over social media. What I also love is that nobody hesitated to send me any encouraging words. My corkboard almost just killed me. Okay. Along with these tips and tricks, I got some amazing videos from some amazing moms like my cousins Polly and Nikki, which I will roll right now.
This is what I do in order to have 5 minutes to get ready. This is allowed. It buys me some peace and it gives me a few minutes to get ready. So that's a quick little tip for anybody who wants to have some time to get ready in the morning. You may have no choice but to allow this kind of thing to happen.
It's mid-morning. You've been up since 6. You need some quiet. Hide in the closet with your jackets, not in the bathroom. They know you're there. They know how to unlock it. Hide in
That's it for today. Help me to continue to support all the mommies around the world today by leaving your words of encouragement in the comment section below. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.